Hey guys, I'm Jinesh Sheikh. Welcome to my channel JD's Code Lab. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to use multiple styles in an application or how to switch from one style to another and change look and feel of the UI elements on runtime. To get early access to my videos and source code, join me on Patreon now. Link is in the description. So let's get started by setting window height and width. Then we will add an uniform grid inside grid with 5 rows and 2 columns and margin 5 pixels from all sides. Inside this uniform grid, I am gonna add a stack panel containing 3 buttons oriented horizontally. Let's call these 3 buttons as primary, secondary and submit button and add some margin to the second button. Copy and paste the stack panel below and replace buttons with radio buttons. We will style these radio buttons as dashboard menu buttons, so rename them as menu button 1, 2 and 3. Next we will divide our main grid in 2 columns. First column for our demonstration controls and in second column we will place a theme selector combo box and apply button. So add a grid in column 1 and stack panel oriented vertically inside the grid. Then add a combo box and a button. Our stack panel seems to need some space, so add a 5 pixels margin. Our combo box will contain 3 items which will be the name of the styles we want to switch to, which are default, flat and modern style. Then moving forward to apply theme button, let's call it apply style and give some margin from top. Let's change menu buttons stack panel orientation to vertical and second radio buttons margin from sides to top and bottom. And uniform grids rows to 2. Also change width of second column to 100 and first to occupy all space. Now add a new folder in our project and name it styles. As name suggests, we will store all our resource dictionaries inside this folder. Okay, we will add 3 resource dictionary files naming default, flat and modern style in this folder. Moving forward, first thing we're gonna do is define our default style resource dictionary file in our app.xaml, which will be loaded on app startup. So first add a resource dictionary tag, then resource dictionary.merged dictionaries. Then here we will define source of resource dictionary, which is styles/default style.xml. Now as we have completed defining resource dictionary, let's switch to our default style tab and add our first style for button. In this button style, we are gonna set properties that are gonna be common in all our button styles, such as height and padding properties, so that we won't need to repeat these properties in primary, secondary and submit button styles. Now let's copy and paste the same button style and add a key to it. Let's call it primary button style and inherit our button properties using based on attribute of style as a static resource of type button. So we don't need to redefine the properties for height and padding again. This resource dictionary is gonna serve as default style, so we won't be making any custom changes such as background color and all. So just copy and paste this style for secondary and submit button and change the key respectively. Let me just collapse the button region and add a new region for a menu button style. Okay, now we will create a style for our radio button with key menu button style and set target type as toggle button and based on static resource toggle button. After that, we will set the style of our menu buttons to menu button style and group name property to menu, so that one menu button is checked at a time. And finally, let's set the menu button 1 as checked by default. Now as we have completed the default style, let's copy both the styles into our flat style.xml file. In this file, we are gonna add some more properties to our button, which will be border thickness as 1, border brush transparent and foreground as white smoke. Then let's add a background brush for our primary button. And also we will be adding a trigger on ease mouse over property to change the background to lighter color and border brush closer to white color. Now let's assign this style to our primary button. And also assign secondary button and submit button styles respectively. After that, we will repeat the same style property and trigger for our secondary and submit buttons. Only we will change the style keys, background and border brush values. Now let's execute the program and see if everything is going perfect. Okay, so seems like we need to override the button template to get our mouse over background to work. So let's add a property template in button style and set value as control template of target type button. Then add a border with background, border thickness, border brush and padding template binded to buttons properties. Then we will add a content presenter inside this border to show our button content. Its horizontal and vertical alignment will template binded as well. Now let's run and see if our problem is fixed. Perfect. Let's also set the style for our apply button as submit button style, since it's a type of submit button after all. Our next step is to style menu button. So let's borrow some code from button style and change the height to 40 pixels, border thickness to 0, background to light grey color and border brush as 3498 dB. Now we will add control template.triggers. So when the menu buttons is checked properties set to true, the border thickness should change to 2 pixels. Let's run the program. Okay, instead of background I entered foreground. Let's make the correction. And with this we have completed the second dictionary as well. I would like you guys to style the modern style.xml on your own as an exercise and share your outputs on my mail or in comment section below. Okay, now getting back to our code, let's add a click event to apply button. Then open the project properties from project menu and navigate to settings tab. We will create new setting of name, current theme and value as default. So the logic behind this is simple. We will use this current theme setting to store the name of current applied theme. Now switch to app.xml's code behind by pressing F7 and create a property of type resource dictionary which will contain the first resource in merged dictionaries, which is default style.xml file, which we assigned in app.xml. Moving forward, add a constructor, then initialize component. Remember, if you forget to enter this method, you will receive argument out of range exception. Now let's add a switch case with expression as properties.settings.default.current theme. Now add a function named change theme with URI as parameter. In this function, we will first clear the dictionaries from merged dictionary, then add a new resource dictionary and set URI value to source. Moving back to our switch case, our first condition will be value flat. If condition is true, then change theme to styles/flat style.xml and set the current theme settings value to flat. Then save the property and break. Now repeat this complete case for modern and default style. So guys, the reason behind writing this switch case in app.xml.cs is that the constructor app will be called whenever the application is launched. And inside our constructor we have defined switch case, so it will check what was the last theme applied by user. So if it was a flat style, then flat style.xml will be loaded and so on. Now switch to main window code behind, and in button click event we will first check if the selected combo box value is not equal to the current theme applied. If the condition is true, then we will create an object app for application.current, after which we will be able to call change theme function from app.xml.cs. So let's write the switch case for our theme selector combo box. If it's not showing in the code behind, then most probably we didn't write x colon before name property. After providing the expression to switch, copy and paste all the switch cases from app.xml.cs, and instead of flat and modern case, use index 1 and 2. Also fix the settings error by adding missing property references. Do the same for missing change theme function reference, which is the app object that we created earlier. Now let's execute the program. One more thing I forgot to do is to set the selected value to the current theme property value. So let's set one-way binding from current theme property to selected value. And set selected value path as content. Finally, let's execute the program. As you can see, the selected value in combo box is set to default. Now if you change the theme and click apply button, the new selected theme will be applied and set as current theme. Even though if you launch the application outside the Visual Studio, it will load the same theme applied on last one. I hope you guys liked this video and learned something new as always. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to check out my previous videos and do like, subscribe and set the bell icon to all notifications and get notified for upcoming videos.